Good morning, shareholders. Appreciate your time this morning, and just like to run through the presentation that was released this morning in regards to the Hawkstone activities. Pretty much over the last 3 months, we've been very active, and we've acquired an additional project, and we're very happy with our portfolio of projects. And if we can put the map up of the US, which of course you would have seen a lot of over the last week, with the carries on in the US, and I think most Australians now know where every state of the US is located. But we are basically on the west coast in the mining-friendly states of Idaho, Nevada, Arizona, and a small project in New Mexico. Our project in Utah is very close to the Nevada border. And those states of Nevada and Utah actually turned for the incoming president. So there was a lot of publicity about Nevada and Utah, and quite interesting. So changes ahead for the US, but I don't think that significant changes. It is the world's biggest economy, and I don't think it'll affect our business at all, really, because we are in these very mining pro states. So exciting times ahead for us. So if we look at that map, well, our project that we've just completed drilling on, the Lone Pine Gold Project, is our high-grade gold project. We have the Bear Track mine within 8 kilometres, and that's 3 million ounces. And then coming down further south into Utah, we have the Western Desert Gold Project. That's also in the right area. There's a reason why we've selected these projects. And that's 50 kilometres west of the Long Canyon mine, which is 2.95 million ounces, owned by Newmont Corp. And then over into Nevada, this is the more recently acquired Devil's Canyon Gold Project. And we're just completing the due diligence now on that project. And we're only 20 kilometres east of Bald Mountain, which is 5.9 million ounces of gold, owned by Kinross. So with the gold projects, we're very much in the right neighbourhood. Greg and myself have been operating in the US for a long time now, and we do see a lot of projects. So these projects have been selected based on the location and also the geological structures that exist. And we are very excited about all 3 of those projects to deliver company-making projects to Hawkstone shareholders, and which we are one of the larger shareholders. And then just rounding off our portfolio of projects in the US, we had the Big Sandy Lithium Project, which was the original project that Greg and myself became involved with Hawkstone. And that is far from forgotten about. It's a major asset. It's well known in the lithium industry, and we are looking forward to advancing that further off the back of our recent capital raise. And then we have over in New Mexico, to the east, we have the Lordsburg Lithium Brine Project. We haven't done a lot of work on that, and we have looked to joint venture that one. And you obviously know the number of directors we've got, and I could tell you that we have the best experienced team in all the ASX, but everyone says that. I think we're just judged based on our exploration success, and we are very active explorers, and we're very conscious of growing shareholder wealth. So we use that experience that we have to explore the right sort of projects and explore cost effectively. That's all I'll say about our management team. So the strategy for Hawkstone, it's we've always known the strategy, but we thought we'd just put that into a slide to inform potential investors and existing shareholders. We want to use modern exploration techniques to create shareholder value. Technology has advanced in the exploration stage significantly over the last 10 years, and we want to use that technology to find projects that have not been found previously. We see the US as a country that has huge opportunities, dominated by large gold and other companies that don't do a lot of general exploration. So we're picking up projects where there's some old workings, and we're applying modern exploration techniques. On a number of the projects, we're using drone technology to collect data to hone in on drill targets into the future. Our focus is definitely on gold and lithium, and we have no further plans for acquisitions. We see projects all the time, but we're going to focus on these because we believe this is the best portfolio of projects that we've had. So, and we are still remaining focused on the Big Sandy project because that is a potential company maker. We've only drilled a small amount of the land holding and come up with a large resource. So that is a huge project. And of course, as I mentioned previously, we are located in those mining friendly states in the US. So we can get on the ground and we can do exploration and drilling without significant permitting issues. So if we just step through the projects, as we saw on the map, to the north, we have the Lone Pine project in northern Utah. It is well located near the Bear Track mine, which is 3 million ounces, and that project is currently being drilled throughout the winter. They are a well-funded company, and that is their main focus. With the way the gold price has been going, they've seen that there's an opportunity there, and Revival Gold raised funds and will drill throughout the winter. We've decided not to drill through the winter. We have had some minor operational issues with our drilling, and we need to evaluate those, results pending, and then we'll plan a drill program for when the winter is over in Idaho. So just quickly looking at the project, we have a non-compliant resource of 71,000 ounces at 18 grams per tonne, extremely high grade. And when I did pick up the project, a few people said to me, sometimes high grade projects are very difficult to drill. I wouldn't say difficult, I'd just say challenging. And from my 10 years in the drilling industry, we have worked out the best way to drill this project, and we've been on a steep learning curve, and we're now ready to follow that up in the new year with drilling. Part of the exploration process at Lone Pine has been some wide-spaced mapping and rock chip sampling. And based on that rock chip sampling, we did acquire additional ground in the area. So we increased our land holding by 233%, from 75 claims to 250 claims. And that's because we saw a lot of high-grade mineralisation at surface, and then overlaid by the geological structural interpretation that we had done, it all sort of coincided with opportunities for further drilling. So we picked up additional ground, and the Lone Pine project is a very exciting project, but it is subject to a winter blockout season. So we are now waiting on results, and we'll evaluate those results, announce to the market, and then plan our drilling program for next year. Okay, there's some pictures of the core material that we extracted from the diamond drilling at Lone Pine. And the issue with the project is it is difficult to pick up core because the material is so soft. It's high grade, and so therefore easily mined, but from a drilling operation, it's a little difficult to get good core recovery. But when you do, you get very good results. So we have traced that mineralisation just at the Lone Pine patented ground over 600 metres, just fairly extensive. And if that high grade continues over the 600 metres, and these type of projects do have a tendency to have depth capacity, so we are sitting on a potential substantial resource, but from this current drilling program, we won't be providing a resource update to the market. We will do from the second drilling program in the new year. So just stepping through the results that we have reported to date, we did get a result of 17 grams per tonne over 1.22 metres, and which includes 65.6 grams per tonne over a third of a metre. That just gives you an indication of the type of grades that are there. And from the trenching, we got some very exciting. So this is just basically with an excavator at surface drilling down, or it's not drilling down, actually excavating down about 2 metres. And we got 9.38 grams per tonne over 1.83 metres. So quite high grade. And then we also got a 20 grams over basically a metre. So that's a basic exploration technique that we've used at Lone Pine of using the excavator while we've been on site. And it's obviously a lot cheaper than drilling. And we came up with some very good results. But then the winter has now cut in, so we can't do any further trenching. So part of the Lone Pine project, we did acquire the King Solomon claims from Jervois Mining, an ASX listed company. And we had reported the due diligence previously to the shareholders, and we got some very exciting results from surface work. We haven't drilled that project as yet because we need to go through the permitting process, which will be done throughout the winter months. And that's only 900 metres away from the Lone Pine project. But if you look at that map on the right there, you can see that this is a highly mineralised area. You have rock chip samples taken to the west of Lone Pine at 22 grams per tonne. And that's just our geologist on site, walking the ground, mapping it, and picking up samples that look quite interesting. So there's a lot of high-grade material around the King Solomon old workings, up to 92.7 grams per tonne. And we found additional areas in this belt. So we may pick up some additional ground, but we do have a lot of ground there now to focus on in the after the winter next year. We've had a drone up there recently taking a magnetic survey, and that will provide some interesting information to target our drilling program next year. So very happy with the acquisition of Lone Pine, and then followed up with additional ground in the general area on the King Solomon project from Jervois. That was a good bolt-on acquisition, wasn't expensive, and it came with a fantastic database for us to improve our knowledge of the Lone Pine district. So if we draw our attention to the Western Desert and the Devil's Canyon Gold Project, we've grouped those two projects together because they're about 200 kilometres away from each other, and they're across the border between Nevada and Utah, but in the same sort of general area of the Carlin trend and the Cortez trend. And this is an area that's produced most of the gold in the US, and it's produced above 195 million ounces of gold in this region. So we're definitely in the right area, and we have picked up some ground that's had some exploration done on it, but no modern exploration. So previous owners of these projects have done some work for us, which we can leverage off, and we'll be in a position to drill there in Q1 or Q2 next year after doing some targeting. So if you look at the area we're in, for the Devil's Canyon, the more recently acquired project, we're getting very excited about that project because there are visible signs of gold and copper at surface. It's in a great location. I mentioned previously it's only 20 kilometres east of the Bald Mountain project, which is 5.9 million ounces. And it's an area that is easily explored. It will be subject to some snow over the Christmas period, but not the same extent as the project in Idaho. So it's something that we can work nearly all year round. But then if we turn our attention to the Western Desert project, that definitely can be worked all year round. And the project that's very similar in geology and location is the Long Canyon mine. And that's owned by Newmont. They purchased it from a junior for a very large premium to that junior. So I'm sure the shareholders in that company were very happy with the creation of value by that management team. And the Long Canyon mine has a 2.95 million ounce gold resource. So anything like that would be very attractive for shareholders of Hawkstone. And that project will definitely be drilled in Q1, Q2 next year after we have completed our targeting. So after having projects in the US for 20 years now, the ideal place to be for gold in the US is in the Carlin trend, and now we have 2 projects in that general trend. So I'm looking forward to next year in a big way. So if we look at the targeting that we have done at the Western Desert Gold Project, we've done a geological interpretation, and then we've sent our in-country geologists out to do stream sediment sampling, and then we followed that up more recently with further stream sediment sampling. So we are targeting in to pick up drill locations and then drilling next year. But with this project, if you look at the type of rock chip samples there in that second bullet point, gold at 6.92 grams per tonne, copper at 5. There's definitely a lot of mineralisation in the system, and we just need to fully understand that and test it with drilling. So exciting and definitely large project area. So the Devil's Canyon, we did touch on that, and that's the one that we're very excited about. Ball Mountain has produced 188,000 ounces of gold, and it has 5.9 million ounces of gold. So a very good mine life there, and they're spending $7 million on exploration in 2020. So if we're only 20 kilometres away from that, and my geological team like the look of the rocks there, then that is well worth testing with drilling. So the future looks good there. And there's another mine 40 kilometres away, the Ruby Hill Gold Mine, owned by Barrick. So you're playing with the big boys in this area. And if you look at the map on the right-hand side, I know it's a little difficult to read, but it does demonstrate that this area has, I like to use the word elephants. Greg likes to use the word world-class gold projects. And if you're a non-technical person, you're chasing elephants, which is massive projects. And you only need to find one of these, and we're away from a share price point of view, and then building a management team and developing shareholder funds. So we did increase the number of claims at Devil's Canyon. Again, it's Bureau of Land Management ground. It's owned by the federal government. We have no issues with traditional owners, and I acquired the 6 projects from the vendor and then staked an additional 84 claims. So we have a reasonable size area. We could find a number of Kalgoorlie super pits in that area, and we're hoping to do that. So we're just about to finalise that transaction, and we did acquire it quite cheaply without milestones associated with resource calculations, etc. So it's a good project using a US model of, rather than issuing a lot more shares and diluting all of us as shareholders, it was just a $15,000 US payment, and then we pay the vendor basically like a rent each year until we decide what we're doing with the project. So I'm very happy that we picked up that project through our contact base and didn't dilute shareholders. So we look at Devil's Canyon. We did do a photogeological interpretation, and when that was completed, we had 7 priority targets. And interestingly, those targets sat underneath of some high-grade surface sampling that was completed by the vendor. Now, the vendor went out and collected some rock chip sampling, and then Hawkstone paid for the assaying of those results. So we need to verify those results, and so we have sent our geologists out there. They've collected rocks, and their results are pending with the lab, and then we've been back to do follow-up work. So we have no reason to suspect that those results won't be replicated without the work we're doing. So of the 7 high priority targets, 2 of those have been rock chip samples. The other ones remain to be tested. So we have a lot of opportunity there to find additional areas that are worthy of drill targeting next year. So exciting acquisition for the company. Okay, there's just some pictures just to give a little bit of insight into the Devil's Canyon. The green blue is a copper oxide material. Samples were taken from this area. They were extremely high grade. And these are the sort of projects you'll see in the US that haven't been followed up. This project was drilled by a major back in the 80s, and we're looking to acquire that database. So we have a good area now, and this is accessible because it has been previously drilled by the major. So once we're permitted, we've done our targeting, we will be drilling at the Devil's Canyon project. We're not sure which one is the priority at the moment, but Devil's Canyon due diligence is looking very good, and Western Desert, and then followed by the Lone Pine project in Idaho. So 3 great gold projects. And then if we turn our attention to our little baby, the Big Sandy Lithium project in Arizona, and I've spent a lot of time in Arizona. It's a fantastic state to do business, and the infrastructure that we have there at the Big Sandy project is second to none, which comes with a huge interstate, gas pipelines, a workforce, and the transcontinental rail line. So if you compare us to other lithium projects in the US, we are very spoiled with infrastructure. So looking at a map again on the right-hand side, there are a number of these type of sedimentary projects in the US, and I won't dwell too long on this because the existing shareholders would have heard this story many times. But then the other companies that are in Nevada, Thacker Pass is the one that really is very comparable to the Big Sandy project, and we talked to those guys. They're well advanced with that project and looking to funding. So if they went into production and they were a proof of concept of how much lithium you can produce from these sedimentary projects, then the Big Sandy project would increase in value very quickly. Elon Musk at the Battery Day about a month ago now referred to these projects on the West Coast, the sedimentary lithium projects, and he announced that he'd picked up 10,000 acres in Nevada to look at doing their own mining. And they didn't give away too much about where they were and how they were going to process. So we are looking at the processing route, and the work to date basically has reduced the exploration risk. We've drilled 4% of the land holding, and we've come up with a substantial resource of 320,000 tonnes of lithium carbonate equivalent. So if you wanted to work out the value of that in ground, it is substantial, and it's only 4% of the land holding. So we're quite happy with the exploration that we've done to date. We now need to turn our attention to the processing, which we have been doing a lot of work on. I haven't really been in a position to update the market, but I suggest that will change in the near future. And if we could improve the acid consumption and potentially have a technological breakthrough with the processing of the lithium, then this project would rank right up there on the production levels, particularly in the US and even around the world. So there is really no production of lithium in the US at the moment. A little bit in Nevada from the Clayton Valley, but a very small amount, so 6,000 tonnes of LCE. And so the US will encourage companies to develop these projects and break the control of the supply chain by China. So the previous president was very focused on China, and so we got a lot of traction with the previous president in regards to developing this project. It is a strategic commodity, lithium, and when I've been over there, the red carpet has just been rolled out to us, and they're just saying, well, how do we help get this project into production? So then if we look at the incoming president, he is very focused on renewables. So I suspect that that assistance will only get greater, and his attitude to China won't be a hell of a lot different either. So this is a project that we can advance, And I have been waiting for funding, and now after PAC partners have raised $3.5 million for us, we are in a position to now advance the Big Sandy Lithium project. Maybe I'll just comment about the lithium project. We did put it on ice for a while because the sentiment for lithium out in the marketplace was weakening. I see that as improving now, and I think it's the right time to refocus back on the lithium project for the benefit of all shareholders. But if I had done that at the start of the year, I think we would have run out of funds very quickly. The next slide just demonstrates the very simple nature of the ore body that we have discovered to date. So a very small overburden removal and then straight into the mineralized sedimentary material. And the grade does vary a little bit, but not substantial. So from a mining point of view, you'd really be just quarrying that. So it'd be a very simple process, very cheap. And the cost driver on this project is the acid consumption. We have been talking to a few people with alternative technologies, and that is very interesting, but we will continue to look at the acid consumption. So if we could just summarise by looking at the news flow from Hawkstone over the next 12 months. Starting off with Lone Pine, we have completed the maiden drilling program, and that was the actual first program ever drilled at Lone Pine, even though it was mined in 1907. So we are the first to drill that, and that in itself is exciting. We'll get the final assay results in Q4 and announce those to the market. Greg will be busy then doing an exploration target, and that'll go out in Q1 next year. And we've already started planning the second phase of the drilling program, which will be deeper, and we'll be getting that permitted and commencing that in Q3 next year, which coincides with the weather there at Lone Pine. Assay results will come through in Q3, Q4, and then we'll be in a position to do the maiden JORC resource. So a well-defined path on the way to develop the Lone Pine project, and we're excited about going down that path. We're not drilling right at this moment, but results are pending. The Big Sandy Lithium project, I did talk about getting that one back into action, and now that we're funded, spending some money on it. I have been doing the environmental survey, and that is very close to completion. That gives us the ability to take a bulk sample and either process it through someone else's pilot plant or building our own pilot plant. That would also depend on funding, another round of funding. And then we're also looking at production of battery-grade lithium. It would be nice to actually produce battery-grade lithium from the sedimentary material and show that it is a quality of lithium that would be acceptable to the high-quality battery manufacturers that go into Tesla vehicles. And I would like to get that done in Q4 next year, if not earlier. So then if we look at the loosely termed Carlin projects, the Western Desert and Devil's Canyon gold projects, we are now currently doing targeting and refinement, and that'll be completed by the end of the year. And that also includes permitting. We're doing some ground geophysics before the end of the year. And then the maiden drill program will commence in Q1. It'll definitely be late Q1, if not early Q2. But we'll have everything organised, and we are an active exploration company, and we love to drill and develop up our geological ideas. So just in closing, I'd just like to say about the COVID-19 and the situation in the US. We have been able to remain active explorers in the US, and that's because we have a dedicated group of consultants there that are also option holders and shareholders in the company. And Greg and myself have been working with them extensively for a long period of time, and they've really helped us through this difficult period. We see that as changing, but when that changes, we're not sure. But we can easily explore the current projects we have using our team in the US. Ideally, we would like to have our geologists on site, but it has worked well through a difficult time. So thank you for your time, shareholders. If you've got any questions, my mobile number is on all the announcements, and I'm always interested to talk to shareholders. Thank you.